Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Chibazi, and welcome back to another video. Alright, so I wanted to talk about the Epic versus Apple lawsuit, which recently just came to an end. Not like this week, but I think like last month it came to an end. So I wanted to cover the outcome of it and to see what happened. So to give you a quick brief overview of what's going on with these two companies, a couple years ago, I believe back in 2020, Epic decided that they were going to have their own payment system, and Apple, they basically did not like the 30% fee that Apple collects when people make in-app purchases, and Epic decided that they would just release their own payment method through their app store in their app, which Apple did not like, and it resulted them to kick Fortnite off from the App Store, which then resulted Epic to file a lawsuit against Apple, and then that's when this whole Epic versus Apple thing has started. And ever since then, they've been butting heads in a legal proceeding, which has taken 4 years, almost like 5 years at this point to come to a conclusion. And last month it finally came to an end. So here are the results. I've got them up on this website. So according to Wikipedia, it says that with Supreme Court's refusal to either appeal, the case ended with all charges dismissed except for the anti-steering charge. To implement this, Apple allowed developers to include metadata buttons, external links, or other call to actions that direct consumers to purchasing mechanisms, but required the developers give Apple 27% of all sales made within 7 days of being directed to these sites, which Apple described as a reasonable means to account for the substantial value Apple provides developers. Okay, so this is what Epic wasn't happy about. Like I said, when you make a purchase from an app in the App Store, or like any in-app purchases, Apple will take 30% of the revenue of that purchase. So if you make a $100 purchase, let's say in Fortnite, then they'll take 30% of that, which is something that Epic did not like whatsoever. And I could see why, because while Apple does allow you to host your app in their store, they literally only take money for you. They only take your money for them putting your app in their store. Keep in mind, they don't really do much when it comes to in-app purchases, so it doesn't make any sense why they take money from the in-app purchases, as that's the developer's money, or the app developer's money, not their money. So them charging for the App Store, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can charge for other people having apps in your store, but it doesn't make any sense to take any money that Epic makes from their apps, such as Fortnite. So I don't really agree with Apple having that 30% fee at this point, or even 27%. There shouldn't be any fee at all, regardless whatsoever. But anyway, let's continue. And this includes in facilitating link transactions. In addition, the App Store posts a warning screen stating that Apple is not responsible for any security or privacy issues related to third-party payment systems when clicking through one of these systems. Okay, this is literally just a blatant scare tactic by Apple to discourage people from using third-party methods to make in-app purchases. And honestly, it's really scummy, and well, not scummy, but it's really just incredibly cowardly for Apple to do such a thing. Epic Games is not a company that sells, scams or harmful things, and Apple does have robust security. I'm pretty sure they do check all the apps before, they allow them to the App Store. Like, there's no way they're just blatantly allowing scams into the App Store. So I don't know why they're putting that on apps, just wrong, and it literally shows that they are trying to be a monopoly and trying to control how things work in terms of the money, or where the revenue goes when developers make money off their apps. Okay, so according to Tim Sweeney, who is CEO of Epic, he said that these changes are in bad faith, are bad compliance with the court orders, maintaining a 27% anti-competitive tax, and a scare screen that are intended to dissuade developers from using third-party payment systems. Epic filed this request to Rogers in March 2024 to enforce the anti-steering provision that she had outlined for Apple. Rogers ruled in April 2025 that Apple willingly failed to comply with their previous injunctions and further extend these injunctions to prevent Apple from collecting any fees from third-party storefronts, nor impose restrictions on apps interface or block such external links outside of neutral messaging, informing the user that they are accessing a third-party website. Okay, so basically at this point, Sweeney is right. It does, the 27% anti-competitive tax is pretty bad, and Apple is not really following the court order, or at least the court injunction, so the judge eventually had to rule against them and tell them that they are not allowed to collect any fees or from the third-party storefronts or impose any restrictions. So that's great, and the blatant scare tactics have to go away. Let's see, hold on. Okay, so Rogers also referred the case to attorney's office for possible criminal contempt proceedings, finding that the company's executives had lied knowingly and took an anti-competitive route to try to demonstrate compliance. Now, this is actually true because the chief financial officer of Apple, who is, I believe, Alex Roman, he willingly, for some reason, lied in court saying that they weren't aware that they were charging 30% fees, or charging, a tax fee in the App Store, when in reality, they actually were. And when court found, the documents that they were doing this did not end well. And as you know, if you try to lie in court, that does not end well for you, and it certainly will not end well with Apple at this point, considering that, court's not going to take that nicely. I don't know why Apple willingly lied when they have financial documents showing and proving that they have been charging developers 30% tax fees for their apps, or at least 27% that Apple has now reduced it up, or the Apple reduced it to, so as it says up here, right here, 27%. So that's just insane to me that Apple had the balls to lie to the courts. That's almost impossible. You can't bullshit the court. They're too smart. Okay, so yeah, so after, let's see, so Sweeney stated that with the ruling, they plan to bring Fortnite to iOS in the United States within a week, as well as have Apple consider dropping all attempts to block third-party apps for in exchange. Apple said they will comply with the new restrictions, but appealed the decision to Ninth Circuit Court. Okay, obviously Apple is completely lying here. They didn't actually comply. A whole week passed by after this happened, and they never really got. Fortnite never came back to the App Store. So there's no response from Apple, and then they. Epic pulled and then resubmitted the application just to have a major update that they planned for Fortnite. And then by May 16th, Apple still yet to approve the app, which basically forced Epic to forego the patch files devices and disable the app for iOS, affecting these in the European Union. And then Apple wrote to Epic it would not improve the Fortnite until after the Ninth Circuit rules on their motion for a preliminary injunction on their appeal. So since they were waiting and playing the waiting game, Epic eventually decided that they would file to district court to force Apple to approve Fortnite. And after the court found out, they requested that Apple had until May 19th to approve Fortnite, stating that all issues with the submission to App Store had been resolved. And then Epic brought back on May 20th for the US updated and the European version. So Apple did actually reinstate Fortnite before the deadline that was given to them, which was May 19th. So they eventually brought back Fortnite to the App Store after 4 years of it being banned. And also, as for the Ninth Circuit, they denied Apple's request for an emergency stay of Rogers' order on June 4, 2025. Apple had requested the lower court to order Epic Games pay 90% of Apple legal fees, estimated at $72 million, based on the fact that 9 out of 10 claims Epic filed were dismissed by court. So yeah, eventually Apple ended up having to bring back Fortnite in the App Store because they lost the court case. This was a huge win, obviously, so this shows that Apple no longer can control the the tax, the money or revenue comes in from apps. So this is pretty great. Let's see. They no longer can charge that 30% fee basically, and they have no right to do it. So in March 24, in response, Epic said that they plan to bring Epic Game Store as well as Fortnite in Europe. Sweeney still argues that new terms for use in EU were an incident of malicious and compliance will continue to challenge those legal routes. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. So Sweeney wants to bring Epic Game Store as well as Fortnite to the iOS in Europe. In order to do that, they would have to comply with the laws there, including with Apple's. So we'll have to see how that goes. But this is a huge win for Epic Games, considering that Apple can no longer now take 30% of developers' money, which means they can't continue to act like a monopoly. And now that they can't do that, I'm wondering when they will allow other game storefronts to come into the App Store, such as maybe let's say Steam. Well, Steam's already there, but as you know, you can't play any other games on Steam thanks to Apple because they don't allow it for some reason. So I don't know. That's just really outrageous to me. So now that they've lost this lawsuit, I'm hoping it will spark a chain reaction, and hopefully maybe Apple's forced to allow other developers and companies to allow their storefront games into the App Store, such as the games on Steam. I'm especially referring to the Steam app, because you can only download Steam from their website, but you can't download from the App Store. And even if you could, right now you can't play any games on Steam whatsoever, like none at all, and I don't know why. But this is the first big good step for Epic Games in terms of fighting Apple on their nonsense 30% fee. I'm glad they were able to win this. Fortnite obviously got back to the App Store after like 4 years or nearly 5 years of being banned. And now that Apple got hit like this really does change a lot. And I think other people will now try to step in and fight them. I'm praying really hard that other storefronts can enter Apple's App Store, such as Google's Play Store, things like that, because then it would allow lots of freedom, and Apple wouldn't be this large monopoly that it has been for these last many decades, because they've been in strict control of the App Store. I don't understand why they won't allow things like Steam to be in the App Store, let alone allow people to download games like The Last of Us on Steam or from Steam and allow it to play on their Macs. Apple has some really good hardware, and for some reason they don't take advantage of the gaming industry or the entertainment industry in general. So this is a pretty good step forward. I think this could be the catalyst for forcing Apple to allow things like Steam in the iOS App Store, and then releasing all games to be downloaded on from Steam to Apple computers, because Apple doesn't allow this currently, and I don't know why. Gaming is not a huge threat. It's pretty popular, and trillions of people play video games. You can literally play games from Steam on Windows, so I don't know why you're not allowed to do it on Mac. So they should really allow this, because as of right now, you can't really play Clash of Clans on Mac, like at all. Not even if you search up in the App Store. I have no idea why you can't do that. I still think you should be allowed to do that. Apple really needs to allow this. So yeah, that would be really cool if Clash of Clans could come to Mac, something I wanted for many years. But I also want to be able to play games from Steam on Mac as well. It doesn't make any logical sense to allow Steam to be downloaded from your browser, but then when you open Steam, you can't download a goddamn game, let alone play it. Like, where's the logic in doing that? Obviously, I don't understand why Apple would block something like that. It makes no sense. So, because there's an app for Steam on iPhone and iPad, so it makes sense for it to be in the Mac Store as well. And I don't know why they have that. Why they wouldn't have that. So I'm hoping they're going to allow that. I want to point out that this lawsuit has been successful, and hopefully other companies can step up to Apple's bullshit competitive practices and make Apple make these changes. But yeah, Epic successfully defeated Apple in court after like 4 long years, 4 years. So congratulations to them. I'm glad they won. Apple can no longer dictate, 30% fee on developers. Let's see the reactions to this. So, yeah, companies like Facebook, Spotify, and the Match Group supported Epic Games in its lawsuit and spoke of their own past issues with Apple's App Store policies related to the service. Digital Next, a non-profit trade group representing media outlets like the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, also backed Epic's suit, asserting, among other issues, that Apple has given out unequally favorable deals to some providers like Amazon, but not to others. So yeah, it seems like many companies are also backing Facebook, Spotify, and Match Group. I haven't seen any company back Apple whatsoever in this lawsuit that's been going on ever since 2020. And then Microsoft announced a commitment to 10 fairness principles in operation of the Microsoft Store, which includes promises of transparency over its guidelines, not blocking competing app stores from being used on Windows, and not removing apps from the store based on their business model, how they handle payments, or how their services are delivered. Okay, this is something that Apple needs to do. Like, Apple literally needs to copy what Microsoft is doing here, and have a commitment to 10 fairness principles in the operation of their app store, so that way people can have more access to apps that they have access to on their phones. This is something that needs to happen. So yeah, this is what this is the outcome I really want to happen with Apple. This is like the main goal that I want Apple to achieve here, if they ever commit to it and if it ever happens, that is. But I think the Epic versus Apple lawsuit is a good start and step in the right direction. But yeah, that is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just wanted to cover the Epic versus Apple lawsuit because this is something that I've been following very closely for the last few years, and I'm praying that now that Apple has lost the lawsuit, other companies will step in and hopefully force Apple to allow other storefronts to be in the App Store. And once that happens, I think we'll be able to see other stores in the App Store and other things like games in the App Store as well that you can download and play, such as Steam, obviously. So that would be the main accomplishment that I want to see happen. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.